Craig Herc right now on the ESPN FC YouTube channel. Long interview between Alexis Nunez and DeAndre Yedlin. They tackle a whole bunch of topics. But one thing we learned is the warning that Yedlin gave Christian Pulisic about the English media just before Pulisic arrived at Chelsea. Here's the clip.
One of the things I told him is definitely watch out for the media in England because they can kill you. they can honestly kill you. I think in America, especially him being American, more often than not, he's going to have positive press just because of who he is and what he does for the country. But English press will look for any way to kill you.
Craig, is Yedlin right here? How bad is the English press? Or are you going to defend an English press I'll remind you that you yourself were once a part of?
Yeah, I was part of the British media, and I also played under the British media and was in the scrutiny of the media. Look, you go to South America and these other countries, some of these other countries where football is a religion. You go to Argentina and you have the greatest player, arguably, on the planet, getting pelters every time he pulls on an international strip in Lionel Messi. There's a lot of the media around the world that are unforgiving. Are the English media harsh at times, particularly on their own players and their own national team? Yes. Do I think they're looking to criticise an American player coming in? No, I don't. I think they're just looking at performances. They don't care where a player comes from, but they're looking at performances. They're not going to curry favour to an American player. They're not going to overly criticise an American player. It'll come down to the performance, but the English press and the British press are no worse than some of these other countries where, in fact, they're probably softer than some of these other countries like Brazil, like Argentina, possibly like Mexico, where, if somebody puts a foot out of line, they get hammered.
Herc, what do you make of what Yedlin's saying?
I make of it as a player who's never dealt with that type of criticism and then gets there and then realizes the type of tension a footballer holds in a country like England, in a league like the Premier League. And when he says they will kill you, I think what he means is they will pay attention to everything you do. Now, listen, I've never played in England. I don't know what the English press is like. But if it's anything like the Mexican press, where I have played, any movement you make on the field and off the field is analyzed. Whether you think that's correct or not, your life now is under a microscope. When you're not used to this type of attention, it takes a lot of getting used to. And I'll remind you, Yedlin got there when he was a kid. He's still very young. So I'm sure he did a lot of things he wished maybe he didn't do off the field, and maybe some on the field, some poor performances or some maybe average performances that he wishes he could have done better. When you're in that type of environment, everything will be dissected and scrutinized. And listen, I can tell you from being in Mexico, once you're there and you realize how big the football is and how much attention it generates, you change. You change and you adapt or you die. And that's what he means by they will kill you.
Craig, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're saying English media, not that bad.
No, they're not. They're not the big bad monsters. At the end of the day, they have a job to do, and I was part of that, as you said. And I was, as you know, I don't hold back my criticism. I love to praise, but I'm not slow in criticising. It's part of the job. I think what we have here, and I think Herc touched on it, is when a player has a bad game, generally speaking, for a Major League Soccer club, you don't see a headline in the Washington Post or the New York Times or wherever the paper is in Los Angeles. Herc, help me out here. I don't know. I'm not lucky enough. The LA Times. I'm not lucky enough to go traveling over there. It's too hot where you are. But when you have a particularly bad game in England, and if it's a big game, it's national news in the paper. Certainly in the back pages on the sports. It's not, apart from a few local rags in the US, it's local news at best. And so when these players go into this cauldron, and that's part of the learning curve, it's kind of new to them, the criticism. The fans are more hostile in general, the media are more hostile, and everybody's looking for answers to the questions from the weekend's performances. And if you can't deal with that, you won't survive. It's not Major League Soccer. It's not structured that way. It's not written about that way. It's not televised that way. And it's big boys league and it's big boys rules.
You know, Herc, he's talking about the English media here, Yedlin, but he's also talking about the American media in this quote. I think in America, especially him being American, more often than not, he's going to have positive press. You're a part of it, Herc. I'm a part of it. Is American soccer media critical enough?
No, I don't think anybody will tell you they are. A lot of that has come. And listen, when he says,
Let me ask, why not? Why not?
Well, I will get to that right now, but and this is what I'm getting to. It's the attention. So when he says they will kill you, it's not so much what the press says, whether it's in print or whether it's on the radio or whether it's in television. It's the amount of weight that carries with the fan base, with the people. So then all of a sudden you've had a bad game, you're on a bad roll or string of games. You don't go out because people read the paper, they pay attention to the pundits on television or the radio. They know exactly why you were bad. They want answers. So you feel that presence, you feel that heat, you feel that tension. Well, Major League Soccer or the press in America, a lot of times doesn't have that platform. Craig touched on the LA Times. He touched on the papers around the country. At best, maybe they can get on and maybe it'd be some sort of critical press, but not really, because a lot of these people who do print, television, radio, whatever it may be, at whatever level it may be in this country, still depend on access. And many times you've been part of it, I've been part of it. When you're denied that access, well, there goes your content. So often not, you see, and not always everybody, but you see a lot conforming and pushing and pumping out more positive press, more fluff than you would see elsewhere.
See, this to me goes to part of the issue with, and I'm not generalizing here, but a lot of the American players is the first thought is the criticism. The first thought is the press. Oh, the press might kill you here. Oh, the press might do this. It's so insular that I think it's part of the issue when the criticism does come their way occasionally after playing for the US men's national team or whatever. It hurts, and they smart probably more than they should, and they take it deeper maybe more than they should. So because they don't get it often enough. Listen, Christian Pulisic's been told to watch out for the press. He's come in from Germany, for God's sake. The Germans hold the soccer performances in their teams to as high a standard as anybody. Yeah. You know, because of the tradition of their game and the success of their game, both domestically and internationally. And I do think, you know, for the American player, stepping out of that comfort zone sometimes is a problem. And some guys don't want to admit it. They say, no, we're not. We can take the criticism. Some can, but a lot of them, and I would say most of them, can't take it. And that's why they struggle a little bit, some of them, when they go to Europe, to the big boys, and they get scrutinized, and they get asked questions.
Craig, I wonder how you would compare the media here, the American soccer media, to the English soccer media.
Well, there's not that many, is there, really? I mean, it's a small number. A lot of it is... There's a lot of good guys. You know, we have, but
good guys don't criticize.
Well, you know, we have our very own, like Jeff Carlisle. I think Jeff does a very good job. I think Jeff is very balanced. And I don't think Jeff Carlisle is frightened to put the knife in if he has to, in the proper manner. So there are guys out there that I think do a decent job. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that sort of suck up to players in management. And I don't think that is healthy. So I think the press try and do the best they can. But I certainly know if we're only talking about us, and we can only really talk about ESPN and ESPN FC and what we do. We try to be, some people might not think it, but we do try to be balanced. But if we think we have to put the boot in, then certainly most of us will do that, because we're not doing ourselves justice in doing the job if we're not criticising. And we're not doing ourselves justice if we're not praising when the time is right. And so I think we try and do that to the best of our ability. But unfortunately, there's not enough out there, I think, that are prepared to put themselves out there to take the heat if you have to have a strong opinion.
Herc, healthy or unhealthy? More criticism in American soccer.
Healthy. It's healthy for growth. Listen, I don't care where you're from. That's part of the process, because if we want to compare ourselves to the world's best, if we want to get to the world's best, well, then you're going to be held to the same standards. This is what everybody else goes through. This is why all of a sudden Mexican players returning are considered when they return from Europe are considered soft in many eyes of the Mexican press because they choose to go play in what is Major League Soccer or these other establishments like the Middle East or what have you not, then Liga MX, because they want, one, a better life. They want, one, less scrutiny. They don't want to be held in the public eye. They don't want the attention they normally get. And listen, if you talk about healthy or unhealthy, it's a very unhealthy system that we have here in the States. We have a very privileged platform. You, Craig, myself, of being backed by ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, and not really having us be reprimanded for what we say. Our access isn't going to be denied for what we say. A lot of press in what is the continental United States, they don't have that luxury. They will shut them out. They will deny them access, and there goes their paycheck. There goes their food on the table for them and their families. So a lot of this, whether it's healthy or not, is understandable in a sense, and it's cultural, and it needs to change.
You say they won't reprimand you. That might be you, but I can assure you it's not me.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.